because I left my wallet at home like a numpty, and one thing that's quite bad, and I'll get a proper bung. Cross-threading one of those nuts, utter bodge. It is what it is. You've guessed it, I'm going to use the CT1 building sealer. And my good friend John is round here. I think it's probably a bit of a waste of time. Looks like it's absolutely hanging. Fuel system cleaner. Definitely some dirt coming off them. Oh, I just realised you can take this off. Good evening. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and today I've jumped in Maud, my Mk1 Escort, and I'm heading over to my other garage. And initially, I'm going to be following up with what I was cracking on with in the last video, which I finished filming yesterday. Now, one thing I can tell you straight away is that Esther, unfortunately, won't be making it to the Ford show at Santa Pod again this year. Obviously, if you attended the show or if you follow me on social media, by the time this video comes out, you would have already seen the social media stuff from the show, and you'll already know that Esther didn't make it to the show. But yeah, she's not going to make it, partly because of a couple of things I found just after I stopped filming yesterday, which I'll bring you up to speed with when I get to the other garage, and partly just because of time. You know, realistically, if I'd have got round the garage super early this morning and stayed round there super late this evening again, then I might have been able to throw her together so that she was, you know, barely drivable. Certainly wouldn't have had time to give her a shakedown. But yeah, I haven't got out and about at first thing this morning anyway, because I had loads of behind the scenes stuff to deal with at home before I could leave. You wouldn't believe how much admin and behind the scenes stuff I need to crack on with as part of this channel. I'm not complaining, I absolutely love it all. You know, it's all part of the job. But yeah, there's a balance to be struck sometimes. If I spend all my time in the garage working on the cars, then I don't end up putting any videos out, and then I end up with loads of backlog of editing to do. So yeah, sometimes you can't just go around the garage straight away when you've got other stuff to get on with. Anyway, that aside, I'm gonna stop at a tool station on the way. I need to pick something up, and then I'm gonna make my way to the other garage. I'll get everything out and make a start, and then I'll switch the camera back on. So I'll see you in a sec. Well, I couldn't go to tool station because I left my wallet at home like a numpty. Anyway, I've got Heidi and Esther out. I haven't jacked Esther up yet because I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to be fitting the new gearbox today or not. But I will show you a couple of things that I discovered, and one thing that's quite bad that happened just after I stopped filming yesterday. Now, first of all, we'll start with some positivity. The dipstick now actually goes all the way down. Yesterday, I thought that this was bottoming out on the bottom of the new sump, but that wasn't the case. It was actually sticking up about this much, so quite a lot. And all I needed to do was adjust the angle of the tube at the bottom there. So, you know, that wouldn't have adjusted how much it's poking down below the level of the engine by much. So yeah, I haven't, you know, adjusted whereabouts in terms of the oil level the dipstick mark is by that much. It was just that it was rubbing on the side of the sump, I think. And yeah, it felt like it was bottoming out because this sump has those ridges down the side. So yeah, I'm guessing it was rubbing on the side of the sump rather than hitting the bottom. But yeah, no, that works. That's good. There is a hole in the new sump on the wing of it there for the G19 dipstick tube, which I haven't bought, so I need to get a bung for that. The sump didn't actually come with a bung to, you know, drain the oil, but I found one of them in my garage, and I found this in my garage, which is the right thread for the hole for the G19 dipstick. So yeah, if I get a bung with the same thread as this, that'll be sorted. I could, you know, just put a hose on this and put a bolt in it with a Jubilee if I really got desperate, but I'm going to take this to a plumbing shop and I reckon I'll get a proper bung. I'm sure there was one other thing that was positive that I found when I stopped filming yesterday, but I can't think of it now, so we'll jump straight into having a look at the negative thing that happened yesterday.
Now, the car's not jacked up, so it's not super easy to show you what I'm on about. But basically, the cross member is attached to these chassis rails by 2 bolts either side, and those bolts screw in to a captive nut, basically a nut that's welded inside the chassis leg. And yesterday, I ended up cross-threading one of those nuts. I think it's because with the other sump, I was using spacers in between the cross member and the chassis, and then I had little washers on the engine mounts. The spacers bring the cross member down, and then the washers bring the engine up. But yeah, with this new sump, I don't need to use the spacers, but I was still trying to use the long bolts that you use when you are running spacers. And because of, you know, where this cross member gets in the way of the tool, I think it was basically meaning that I was putting the bolt in at an angle. So yeah, this nut inside the chassis, just through that hole, is now cross-threaded.
Now, I was hoping to go to Toolstation today and buy a tap and die set, because the one I had didn't belong to me and I've given it back, and just see if I can tap another thread into that hole.
What I did on Maud, which is an utter bodge, on the inner wing here, which is basically where those nuts are, I cut a little window in the metal and then prized it open, and basically I can use a nut and bolt, so, you know, use a spanner from this side and a ratchet from the other side to attach or remove the cross member. Don't really want to do that on Esther if I can help it. I probably will have to, you know, cut a hole in it, get a nut welded back inside, and then just get that bit welded up again. Yeah, not great,
but it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, that's one reason why, you know, I probably wouldn't be able to take Esther to the show this weekend, even if I did have time to put her back together. You know, it's a bit dodgy, you know, only having one bolt on the cross member on one side. So yeah, other than that, she's as she was at the end of the last video. But now I'm going to turn my attention to her new RX-8 gearbox. So we've got the 2 RX-8 gearboxes next to each other. This is the one that I removed from Esther yesterday, and then this is the one that I picked up recently. And there's a few things that I did to this gearbox, mainly removing stuff and shaving parts of the bell housing down to make it fit in Esther's tunnel. So let me just run you through all the little modifications I did to the old gearbox. So you'll notice that I've got this sort of metal plate put on here, just with sealer. And if I show you the other gearbox, you'll see that it's got this sort of, I don't know if this is like a vent to let debris out of the bell housing, not sure. But yeah, this is a little bit tight to the tunnel. So yeah, I cut that off, but then you end up with a massive hole. So that's why I sealed that plate onto there. Obviously, I'm going to be removing this slave cylinder because I've got the one that's virtually brand new on the car. There's this thing here, which I don't know, again, I don't know what it is. There's some sort of, I don't know, is that some sort of filter? I don't know. But yeah, I removed this whole piece, as you can see, and this one. And yeah, a couple of these sort of strengthening ribs got shaved down as well. Just remind myself which ones. So yeah, this one. And I'll probably shave the whole thing. When I did this before, I was using a hammer and chisel. So yeah, that's why I only done the bare minimum. But I'll be using a grinder this time. There is another couple of bits I think I'm going to be shaving down extra on this new one. So you've got this little bit that sticks out here. I think this is what bolts to this sort of bar that joins the gearbox and the axle. I think it's like a torque tube or a torque bar or something. But yeah, this is not needed. So I might cut some of that off. This doesn't hit the tunnel. It'd just be nice to have a little bit more clearance. I can unbolt this mount because obviously I mount mine around here. One of these, this one is for the reverse lights, so I'll be retaining that. I've got this multi-plug here that connects to a multi-plug that I've also put on my loom. So I'll take that off of there and put that onto this wire. Try and keep it roughly the same length as this one. This wire here is the circuit that doesn't allow you to start the car unless it's in neutral, so don't need that. So I'll just cut that off and remove any of these clips that aren't needed. Yeah, take this pipe off, that's for the slave cylinder, as I've already mentioned. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Although there is some other bits that I need to do, you know, on the sort of bell housing area for the starter motor and to clear some of the nuts for the adapter plate. But yeah, I'll crack on with everything I can do while the gearbox is standing up like this, and then I'll flip it up and crack on with them bits. So I think I'll unbolt the bits that needs to be unbolted, and then I'll get the generator and the angle grinder out and make some noise. So I think that's pretty much everything that's got to be done on the outside. I will give this area a decent sand and a degrease before I stick my metal plate on. Might actually try and reuse that bit, save me cutting another bit out. It's only really thin aluminium. You can see my previous bodge actually failed. I've shaved this rib down much more than I did on this one, because as I say, when I did that, I think I used a hacksaw and a hammer and chisel. So yeah, on this one I've been able to get it quite flush. What else have we done? Oh yeah, and this bit up here I didn't actually do on the other gearbox, but yeah, that'll give me a bit more clearance. And I was tempted to shave this bit off because that would help with clearance as well, but all the good mounts out there actually mount to here, because that's the original mounting point. I removed the original mount earlier on, so just in case I decide to improve my mount later on, I thought I'd leave that there. Although there are some bits on the tunnel near where that bit is that I might actually shave away before I fit this gearbox. But yeah, now I need to stand both gearboxes horizontal, and then I can show you the mods I've done to the bell housing area of the old gearbox, and then replicate those mods on the new one. Alright, so we're now looking at the old gearbox, and the main area that needs to be shaved away is around here. And that's to give clearance for the starter motor. The starter motor on this application actually bolts to the adapter plate rather than the bell housing. And yeah, you just need to make clearance for it around here. But there is another couple of places. There's a little bit of shaved out there, and likewise over here. And if I remember rightly, they're to make clearance for some nuts that are on the bolts that hold the adapter plate to the engine. Well, I think I'm just about done grinding. I've definitely done this one more than I've done the old one. If you compare that to that and compare that to that, you can see that I've definitely gone overkill. Actually broken through there. Let's just hope I haven't taken too much strength out of the bell housing. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to be round here for much longer. I've been getting home really late the last couple of nights and haven't been spending enough time with my beautiful girlfriend Kat, so I think I'm just going to get the hydro shot out and get the majority of all this metal dust out of the inside of the bell housing. Going to have to do a bit of sweeping around here as well, and then I'm going to do the off. I've nearly finished tidying up, just got to push Esther into this garage, but there is one thing I want to do before I go. I want to get rid of this big hole in the side of the new gearbox. I've actually nicked the plate from the old gearbox. Now, I have given it a clean with a wire brush just to get all the old sealer and dirt off it. I've degreased it. I've also given this area of the gearbox a going over with a wire brush and some 80 grit sandpaper, and I've degreased it. And you've guessed it, I'm going to use the CT1 building sealant. Now this had started coming off of here, but I'm pretty sure this was put on before my CT1 building sealant days. So yeah, hopefully this will stay on a bit better. I'll basically roughly bend it to shape. Obviously stick a load of CT1 on it, stick it on there, and then another day I'll come around here and see if I can get some sealant on the inside. That'll do for now. Now I'm going home. Into a new day, and man, did I get up late this morning. Over the last few weeks, I've been getting up between 4:30 and 6:30 in the morning and going for a run around the block. More for the health of my mind than my body, to be honest. But yeah, it also means I'm up and about early enough to get stuff done. But yeah, this morning my body wanted a refund from all the lost hours of sleep over the last few weeks. So I didn't actually get up until about 10 AM, which means I've got hardly any time today around the garage. My good friend John is round here with his Land Rover, which is actually for sale. So if you're interested, drop me an email and I'll pass your details on. Now, I've got the Mark III jacked up at the back, and I think it was probably a bit of a waste of time, to be honest, because the issue I'm having where it cuts out every now and again, only when the fuel is low, which makes me think it might be something to do with the tank. Yeah, the only real course of action to solve that, if it is to do with the tank, is to drop the tank completely out of the car, empty it, clean it out, and then refit it. And it will probably be sensible at the same time to put an airline through the fuel lines. And this car's actually got a feed and return on the fuel lines. Yeah, these two here. So yeah, not really much I can do today without dropping the fuel tank all the way out. So yeah, for this weekend, I think we'll just make sure we keep the Mark III topped up with fuel and cross our fingers, and hopefully she won't leave us stranded anywhere. So I'll get this old banger back on the ground, and then I'll find something else to occupy myself with, like Esther's new gearbox. All right, so I want to put some more of my favourite building sealant on this plate that I put on this gearbox that you would have seen earlier in the video. Basically want to put a little bead around the outside of the plate on the inside of the bell housing, and then I'm probably going to put another smear on the outside. But before I do anything inside this bell housing, I need to clean it up. It's absolutely filthy, so I'm going to hit it with a brake and clutch cleaner and see if we can get it looking clean. I do have a new clutch release bearing to go on this, but I'll put that on last minute before I put the gearbox in. In fact, that release bearing looks like it's absolutely hanging. Alright, so apart from fitting the new clutch release bearing and fitting the gearbox mount that is currently still fitted to the old gearbox, that RX-8 gearbox is now ready to fit to Esther. Obviously won't be doing that today, I'm going to be diving into that next week. Fingers crossed this gearbox isn't whiny like the old one was. It's obviously possible that this one might be more worn than the other one, but we'll see. I have also just screwed the air filter back onto the Mark III, forgot to do that earlier, and just found some of this in my garage. Fuel system cleaner. Maybe it's worth chucking a little bit of this in when we fill the Mark III up later. May or may not help with whatever is causing the issues. I don't think I'm going to bother giving the Mark III another wash. Still looking quite mint, hasn't been driven since we brought it back from the show last week. Obviously Maud will be going to the show as well. Definitely won't be giving her a clean because, well, she had a wipe over just a week ago with some panel white. One thing I do want to have a go at doing quickly is giving the seats a bit of a clean. The last few days I've been absolutely filthy round here working on Esther, and then I've sat in these seats, and obviously at the weekend I'm going to be wearing my nice-ish clothes. So yeah, I think I'm going to try and give these seats a bit of a scrub because there probably is oil stains and stuff on them. Definitely see dirt on the harnesses. But yeah, I picked up this stuff from home that was in my shed. Sort of foamy stuff, you know, you just spray it on and yeah, wipe it with a damp cloth afterwards and then let it dry. Definitely some dirt coming off them. Oh, I just realised you can take this off. Sweet. Yeah, that other cushion comes off as well. Really can't bother to get the Jenny and the Hoover out, but you know, next time I'm in a garage I can rip those up and hoover this out properly. Much easier to take these out and clean them individually. I think I'll just see if I can get that Sparko sign to look a bit better. Pretty sure that would have been white once upon a time, but I think it's a bit too far gone. I can definitely notice a difference.
Seats looking in general a lot cleaner. Still loads of bits of dust and whatnot on it, but yeah, I can give it a hoover out at some point in the near future, and I will lift those cushions up and hoover under there. The Luke on the harnesses is a lot more white looking now. I might get some panel wipe on the rest of this little patch, but yeah, hopefully won't get any grease on my decent clothes now. So that's one down, one to go. That is a whole lot better. It's really brought out all the white stitching and the Sparko, although it is still a bit stained, it's a lot better than it was. And yeah, this blue bit is a lot bolder now as well. And again, the Luke harnesses looking cleaner, although that leather bit I think I'm gonna put some panel wipe or something on. My beautiful girlfriend Kat is now on her way down to pick the Mark III up, so while I'm waiting for her, I don't know, gimbal shots. Well, as it turned out, my beautiful girlfriend Kat arrived before I even got the gimbal out, obviously making good use of the tiny turbocharger that's strapped to the side of Roger's 1 litre 3-cylinder engine. Anyway, Kat's going to jump in the Mark III, I'm going to jump in Maud. We're going to stop off at a petrol station on the way home, just to fill both cars up to the brim. And then I suppose I'll pick this video back up when we're on our way from our house to my parents'. I've made it to my parents. Got to shuffle some bits around so we can put both of the classic cars down the side of the house. Good evening.
Go on, stop.
Alright, so just like that, we've got the Mark III and Maud, the Mordor Mark II, safely underneath my parents' carport. Now it's time for us to go and chill out for a bit, get an early night, because we're getting up early tomorrow for the Ford show at Santa Pod. So I'm going to end this video here. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe if you're new to keep up to date with all my future uploads. And check the links in the description to my social media, my website. I'll also leave a link to my Patreon down there for any of you guys that want to jump on that. Massive, massive thanks to my patrons. I really, really appreciate your support. I'll leave my email address in the description for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, from me and my dad, aka Picasso the Painter, thanks for watching.